UK Network Radio. This week's show is a journey into consciousness, working through the wonderful trance mediumship of Mick and Sylvie Avery, with wisdom brought through by spirit guide Gregory Haye. If you look on the physical plane of things, there's also different physical vibrations as well.
That's right.
So we're a civilization here living in this kind of physical reality.
Yes.
But then there's also more finer, subtle physical realities where people are having a much more enlightened experience.
That is true too, as well as there being, of course, other physical dimensions and other physical universe which run in parallel or in opposition to your present knowing.
Yes. So when you say opposition, do you mean like there's negative and positive polarities in that sense?
No, I didn't mean that.
Right.
I meant that in opposition, being that, for example, you are in a set 3-plane dimension.
Yeah.
Yes. And in actual fact, this interacts occasionally with different planes. Within the spirit world, 4th and 5th dimensional activity, and yet there are other dimensions which are also physical worlds which interact but in a completely different way to your physical world. So it's in a sense that you only sense them very, very rarely. And that doesn't mean to say I want lots and lots of human beings to then suddenly fixate upon that situation as a point of release or whatever it is, another ism to be grown out of it. I'm simply saying that there are many different messages, many different energies to do with the simple universe is not just one. It should be, in a sense, really described as a verse, not a universe, or an omniverse. That might be better to describe.
Okay.
The multiverse is really what the omniverse or universe is a part of.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard a story a couple of weeks ago about, I think it was a 77 that basically disappeared off radar for 10 minutes, and obviously the control tower were frantic trying to track down this plane. There's no physical eyeball, no one could see it from the ground as witnesses.
Yeah.
And basically 10 minutes later the plane came back onto radar. When it landed, every single person's watch and clock on the plane had either lost or gained 10 minutes in time.
Yes, that's right.
So it almost appeared like it crossed a dimensional barrier.
That's right, yes.
Okay. So do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely so. And it's happened many times. That's the point. The point I also have to make, dear friend, is that sometimes there are other animals within your existence who can do the same thing.
Yeah. But where'd they go? I mean, did they just step... Is it a similar thing to the Sasquatch thing? Or have they literally moved into another dimension?
No, they actually move into a different dimension.
So is that an anomaly in our fabric of space-time, time-space?
Yes, but it's a moving one. It's something that, if you could imagine, dear friend, that you have different sets of clouds. And the different sets of clouds which exist in your universe, in your known verse of environment you live in, you observe as being culminating from a certain set of climatic weather conditions, temperature, pressure, shear forces, various other anomalies which are exerted upon the atmospheric condition. And however, within the universe and within different universes, what can happen is that you have, in a sense, not tears or rips, but simple depressions that simply then change those anomalies so that suddenly you would be moving or flying in one direction and then you're actually in a completely different universe. So long as you didn't change course, it would be most probable that you would come back, you would find the other end of it, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, that could be catastrophic, because you could appear in another universe, and in that universe is a mountain, or another plane.
Oh, absolutely so. Yes, that's quite true. They were lucky, in actual fact, in that respect, that they were simply in a different... I would have to say that what happened to them is actually that they were in the outer fringes of another universe. They weren't actually completely immersed in it, simply because what happened to them was that they changed their time frequency. So it was a time frequency anomaly that happened, rather than them being completely immersed in that universe. When you first go to a universe, you actually move through a time frequency. Because that's always on the outer edges.
So does that have effect on the body? Does the body have some kind of mechanism that tries to keep you grounded in the reality that you come from? Is it like some sort of automatic homing device?
That's an interesting point that you make, my dear friend. I think not, in actual fact. It's in a sense a bit like a person who goes into a cave, and the cave is well lit. Perhaps it's a whole party of people. And you go into a cave and you're perhaps a mile under the ground or something like that, and then someone turns off the lights. You become not just disorientated, but you actually have to grasp the wall upon which your back is pinned simply because to try to maintain your stance and your relativity to being upright. Yes?
Yeah.
And also a thing, a situation, an anomaly that happens to your physical brain because you are no longer looking at the horizon. Therefore, your balance and theolite, if you like, your inner theolite actually switches off. And that's, in a sense, why you actually have to hang on to something to maintain your balance. And that's part of what happens if you move into a different dimension. It's the same anomaly, the same set of circumstances that can happen to you.
So while this is happening, what would the individual guides and helpers on that aeroplane and the people, would they be as surprised as the people?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It's necessarily something that's actually known or seen to be coming from the spirit world.
So this is bigger than, this is like kind of the God consciousness. This is the, not God or the One, but this is beyond even your guide's knowledge, in a sense.
Well, yes, of course.
Yeah.
I do not think, my dear friend, that everything of all beings, including all of your spirit helpers and workers, people who walk with you, or even your doorkeeper, is actually necessarily known to them. You cannot give them that kind of empowerment. What you have to understand is that they're all beings who have once had a physical life, or maybe they're pure beings of the spirit world, maybe never having had a physical life. That doesn't mean to say that they've never had experience, because even you, I'm not belittling you, friend, because I know that you've had many experiences in the term of, not in terminology of lives, but in your continuing consciousness of millions of years of survival. And in that respect, it means that many beings, most beings who are presently living upon the earth, are actually coming from a similar state.
Yeah, okay.
Contrary to popular belief. Many people feel that, oh yes, this is a young soul or an old soul or some such thing, some kind of belittling measurement or credence for one person or other to say, yes, I pat you on the head, or no, I think you're inferior. It is such a belittling experience and completely untrue. It is not how the spirit world works at all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do.
I know.
So,
I think.
Thank you. I read a book actually about these clouds, and it's interesting we got onto the subject. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but this book mentioned these kind of green mists that form, and they're always around areas where you could almost see other dimensions, or people would see another scene that was slightly out of phase, or something would disappear.